I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode number 97, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. In this week's episode, I consider what it means to act with integrity. Do you act with integrity? What's the price you pay if you don't act with integrity? A building that has integrity lasts. It stands up against all types of weather, all types of circumstances. It lasts for centuries. A person with integrity also lasts. Such a person can stand up in the eye of the storm against all difficulties and survive and thrive. Such people are admired. They inspire us. They are successful. I have been, for many years, influenced by Buckminster Fuller's brilliant quote, "Integrity is the essence of everything successful." Stick around and find out why that might be so. This show is founded on the formula SA plus P equals success. Your self-awareness plus your passion will guarantee that you are a success. The best definition of success that I have found is this: success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideal. It's not the achievement of that ideal, it's the progressive realization of that ideal. As you are pursuing that ideal, you are a success. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So I hope this show provokes you, inspires you, educates you to go on that journey of self-exploration, to raise your self-awareness, to examine your life. For more details about my background, listen at the end of the show. Now, you can see I'm wearing my red jacket. Red is the colour of passion. I wear red when I'm presenting speeches and running programs, and I wear it so that when you see red in your life, it reminds you to think about the question, am I pursuing my passion? Each week I share with you one big idea that is capable of changing your life. And it's just one idea because there's a chance that you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then it could become so confusing that you don't do anything with the idea. Each week I share simple and practical resources that I have used with my clients over the years that work. A book, the lyrics of a song, a health tip, a spiritual tip, a quote that reinforces the big idea, and some humour. After all, life was not meant to be taken unduly seriously. At the end of the day, we'll all be dead. This show is not politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including coffee. Thanks, Peter. Addiction to running and addiction to certain other unmentionable matters. So some addictions are very useful indeed. This show definitely subscribes to the view that you have a spiritual life, a soul, a spirit, a heart. Because my definition of passion is that passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart, that enables you to produce extraordinary, above ordinary results. Because most people are actually not pursuing their passion. And I promise you I don't include anything in this show that I don't believe to be true, that I don't, in my life, implement or have implemented so that I know that it works. I don't implement everything at once, but I don't recommend anything to you that in my life experience I don't believe to be useful, valuable, insightful, and to be of value to you. But of course, because each one of us is a weirdo, what you find valuable another person might not. I certainly get that. So, what's happened in the week before we get on to the big idea? Well, yesterday, Saturday, in Melbourne was one of the biggest demonstrations ever in Australia's history in Canberra. Looks like close to 500,000 people converged on the small capital of Australia, Canberra, where less than 500,000 people live. And these people converged from all around Australia. The videos of it are wonderful, and it's a total disgrace, in my view, and an indictment of mainstream media that the Sunday Herald Sun today, as I'm recording this, to this one of the biggest demonstrations ever in Australia's history, mentioned it in a tiny little article on page 9 of the Herald Sun. This is the censorship. This is the disgraceful demolition of credibility of mainstream media, that such demonstrations don't get coverage. Shame on the newspapers, shame on the mainstream media. The price they are paying is that their audience drops dramatically, and it deserves to drop, and I hope that it drops. The Canadian trucking convoy continues, and the mainstream media has also given that a media blackout. One of the biggest demonstrations in the world. Tens of kilometres long of truckers now in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. No media coverage. Disgraceful. Of course, the Canberra demonstration, the Ottawa convoy and demonstration are all about freedom, are all about getting rid of mandates and mask wearing and all of that nonsense and lockdowns, none of which do anything. Be aware, dear viewer, dear listener, of the censorship that is going on, and it is my considered guess that less than 30% of people are observing mainstream media. Most of them are losing money, and bear in mind that governments all around the world are funding mainstream media so that mainstream media is publishing what government wants. So the purpose of that mainstream media has disappeared. That mainstream media is no longer what's called the fourth estate. It has lost its credibility in its intended role of holding government to account, politicians to account, business to account. It was also amusing to see the leader of the opposition in Australia sitting at the feet of Grace Tame, last year's Australian of the Year, 26-year-old nobody, and Brittany Higgins, both women complaining about how hard it is for women, when Albanese, in an absolute demonstration of lack of integrity, treats his female Labor parliamentary colleagues in a bad way, and then pretends to be buying into the messages of Tame and Higgins. What a joke. In Victoria, there was reports of the massive waste of money by the Victorian government in setting up hospital-like facilities in hotels. Unused. Total waste of money. Russia and the Ukraine, in terms of geopolitics, looks like a serious challenge for us to consider. The federal election in Australia is coming up, and Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, is running around offering cheap beer. His polling numbers have plummeted. Albanese's has gone up, the Labor Party. It shouldn't go up, but I predict that ScoMo and the Liberals, because of their total lack of integrity, their total lack of commitment to what they say they stand for, will be demolished in the polls, just like the Liberal Party was demolished in Western Australia in its last state election. The question of whether they should have been or not, the question of philosophy versus how they're actually executing, it's an interesting balance to observe in most elections, that people might support the philosophy of particular politicians, but their execution is so poor that they don't vote for them. And at the same time, our garden is beautiful. The weather is beautiful in Melbourne. Everything is growing beautifully. And my exercise activities are going beautifully, and Julie's are going beautifully. So in the midst of all of these challenges, life is indeed beautiful. And the work that I'm doing, I'm pursuing my passion, Julie's pursuing her passion, and I hope you are pursuing your passion, because When we're pursuing our passion, despite the global challenges that we're all facing for freedom, for truth, for justice, it makes each day a joy to experience. I have to report that 2 close friends died last weekend. Sad, and you know what it's related to. So, now for today's big idea. Before we do, I invite you to subscribe, if you haven't yet done so, to the YouTube channel or to the podcast, to go and visit my websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Learn about the self-awareness and passion quest. You can download the manifesto for the self-awareness and passion quest for free. My books are available, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance. So, the big idea. Do you act with integrity? Buckminster Fuller said, the essence of everything successful is integrity. When you act with integrity, you are powerful, confident, courageous. You are successful. When a building has integrity of construction, it stands up to any weather event. As you can see from buildings that are hundreds of years old, they have integrity of construction. When a team has a leader who demands that the team members act with integrity, the team is successful. When a subdivision of land has integrity of design, it works well. It is a joy to live in that environment. Are you choosing to act with integrity on a moment-by-moment, on a day-by-day basis? My definition of integrity is that what you say and believe is consistent with what you do. When there is an identical relationship between what you say, what you believe, and what you do, there's a oneness. Integrity comes from the word integer, meaning one. Integrity. There is no conflict between what you believe and what you do. Big business often says that it's committed to their customers, but if it's going to cost them money, then they take the shortcut and they don't give the customer what they promised. That is not a lie. That is a breach of integrity. That is acting out of integrity. When a dental practice says we are committed to great service, and then you're not happy with the service, many dental practices refuse to acknowledge the unhappiness of the patient. That is acting out of integrity. When there is a oneness, there is a solidity, a strength, an ability to stand up against all sorts of forces. Let me give you 3 examples, 3 practical examples of people who act with integrity. The first is Israel Folau, the rugby union player, who acted in integrity with his Christian principles and beliefs. The second example is police officers in Australia who have resigned from the force because of the disgraceful behaviour of police forces in Australia, enforcing mandates and lockdowns and whatever other nonsense governments are requiring them to do. These police understand what their oath was, and they said, I can no longer implement government directions that are contrary to that oath. And these are police officers who love their work. Roland Crystal, I give you great credit as one example of such police officers. A third example is Neil Angus, a member of the Victorian Parliament, who is acting with integrity and saying, I don't want the jabs, and he's excluded from Parliament. Outrageous, contrary to our Constitution, contrary to law. I honour Neil Angus's stand in acting with integrity. And now I'll give you 3 examples of people who are not acting with integrity. The first is the Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, who says the jabs are not mandated in this country. That is BS, called bullshit. Total breach. It's a blatant lie, but also contrary to the liberal principles and philosophies that he says he stands for. Now, bear in mind that you can tell a lie and act with integrity. You see, when sometimes if your spouse says to you, how do I look? And You don't like how he or she looks, but you say you look great. You are acting with integrity even though you're not telling the truth. Why? Because it is a high principle for you not to have conflict with your spouse. And so you go along with the choice that your spouse has made. That is acting with integrity. Second example, Daniel Andrews. Not only is he a liar of the highest order, criminal in his behaviour in numerous ways, and telling lies before commissions of inquiry, but he also is acting out of integrity with what he says he believes in the operation of government. The third example I mentioned in my review of the week is CEOs of big business who espouse values in their company and yet in Australia certainly do not fight for those values in terms of holding governments to account, and do not hold those values in demonstrating corporate behaviour in dealing with their customers, in dealing with customer problems. I see it all the time, this disjunct, this lack of consistency between what companies and big business say and what they actually do. There are many more examples I could share with you. I could spend 3 hours just exploring this question of integrity. I only have a short period of time with you. These examples are designed to make you think about the price you pay. Everyone who acts without integrity, out of integrity, will pay a price. I say, for one example, that people who act without integrity, who act out of integrity, pay a big health price, a mental health price, because it burns them up inside. And that's what that weakens them. At the end of the day, they say, oh, I've suddenly had cancer, I've suddenly got this health problem. No, how acting with integrity is a crucial element in your health. There is always a price for what you do. And integrity, coming back to where I started, means acting consistently with your principles, with your philosophy, with what you believe. Don't BS. Don't pretend that you stand for something when you actually don't. What the benefits that you will get will be you'll be able to live your life consistently in a way that makes you powerful, that makes you confident, that you don't have to apologize to others for what you believe. It's a great way to live. I urge you to embrace it. So, the resources. What does your integrity then demand of you in terms of the absolute attack on freedoms by Western governments, by Australia, by Canada, by New Zealand, by America? What does your integrity demand? And I say, and I have been doing it, and regular viewers and listeners know that I'm a warrior for freedom. I will fight for freedom. You know the reasons why with my family history of getting away from communism. Are you acting in integrity with what you truly believe about freedom? Or are you selling out freedom for comfort? This week's song is by Tracy Chapman, Talking About a Revolution. It's a time for you to create a revolution in your own life. Inspiring song, inspiring idea. Are you going to keep behaving the same way you've always behaved because of comfort, because it's nice to have the money? Are you going to sell out your principles, or are you going to create a revolution in your own life? Think about that as you listen to Tracy Chapman singing that wonderful song. My book this week is by Hugh Mackay, an excellent Australian philosopher, thinker, writer. Hugh Mackay, the book is Right and Wrong. Published some years ago. Excellent conversation about doing the right thing or the wrong thing. What is the right thing? What is the wrong thing? In health terms, my health tip for you is to explore yoga. I've had 2 conversations with people on Friday and Saturday during the week one about breathing, and yesterday with Victor Purton about yoga. His mother was a yoga instructor. So if you've never looked at yoga as a possibility for rejuvenating this magnificent machine, take a look at yoga and the different styles of yoga and the incredible relevance and power of breath and how well you breathe and its impact on your health. My spiritual tip for you is to contemplate what your beliefs actually are. What do you believe about spiritual matters? What do you believe about philosophy? This show is giving you constant ideas around this, but spiritually, the spiritual elements of your life, I gave you 11 examples of it in last week's show. So you then explore, hey, am I behaving, are my actions consistent with those beliefs, with those spiritual commitments and principles that I actually subscribe to? My quote of the week. Well, I've already shared a quote from Buckminster Fuller. I'm a big fan of Buckminster Fuller. And the first quote, and I'm going to give you a bonus this week, a number of quotes, because they're very, very powerful in the context of integrity, because Bucky said integrity is the essence of everything successful. And he also said this: you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. That's what happened to the whole mobile phone industry. People didn't say that phone's no good. No, Apple came along with a whole new model. Steve Jobs came along with the iPod. It totally changed the whole way that we consume music. Bucky said, you never change things. So what I'm fighting against is governments and the way that they're behaving. So you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model. That's what I'm working on, everybody. Now, Bucky also gave us some additional wonderful quotes. So there's a bonus this week. If humanity does not opt for integrity, we are through completely. It is absolutely touch and go. And he was talking about the future of humanity. Each one of us could make the difference. And this is, I've got 5 quotes here of Bucky. The next one: never forget that you are one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it is always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So be that one person. How does that make you feel? Next quote. Human beings always do the most intelligent thing after they've tried every stupid alternative and none of them have worked. Next one. When I'm working on a problem, I never think about beauty. But when I have finished, if the solution is not beautiful, I know it is wrong. And there are buildings in Melbourne, particularly the old World Trade Centre, that was such an unworkable, ridiculous building. How the architects got along with designing it, it was the absolute antithesis of beauty. Next one. I'm not trying to counsel any of you to do anything really special except dare to think and to dare to go with the truth and to dare to really love completely. And lastly, which comes back to the first quote in slightly different words, it's useful to pick up an idea using slightly different words. That's why when you go to a dictionary, you have a number of words describing a particular word, examples that gives you a sense of the meaning. If you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which will lead to new ways of thinking. So I hope those quotes inspire you to think in new ways. And my spot of humour in terms of integrity is the judge sitting in the court about to try a case, and he calls up counsel for the prosecution and counsel for the defence. And he says to the counsel for prosecution, Mr. Prosecutor, you've given me $1,500 to decide this case in your favour, and turns to the counsel for the defence and says, you've given me $1,000 to decide this case in your favour. So what I'm going to do is give $500 back to the prosecution, and I'm going to decide this case on its merits. That's acting with integrity. Somewhat corruptly, but anyway, made me laugh when I first heard it. So, think about how today's big idea about integrity can make a difference to your life. A life that is meant to be all that you're capable of making it. I aim to provoke you and inspire you to pursue that journey of making your life what you want it to be. I again invite you to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. You can access my books, Passionate People Produce Passionate Performance. You can subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder and other resources that are available on those sites. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share this show with your family, friends, work colleagues. I'll be most grateful. And until next week, may your week be full of life-giving passion to enable you to face the challenges and embrace this wonderful experience of life that we have been given. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the ride. I certainly do. So, here's a little addendum for newer viewers and listeners who don't know about me. Since 1993, when I left my successful legal career after 20 years of legal practice, I have been educating, inspiring, motivating, provoking audiences large and small, one-on-one, in teams, to discover and pursue passion, because passion is the clue, is the key to achieving extraordinary success. Passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart, that enables you to produce extraordinary results. I've helped people in the books that I've written. I've run team building programs over the course of a year. I've done one-on-one executive coaching. Self-awareness and Passion Quest is all about one-on-one executive coaching. I'm also involved in numerous charities. I'm involved with industrial hemp. I'm CEO of a hemp company. I'm chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy. I'm on the board of the Australian Cartoon Museum. I'm president of the Australia-Hungary Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the board of the Kids Foundation, a charity that for the last 27 years has educated kids how to take sensible risks. I do lots of other stuff. I'm also heavily involved in pushing back against nonsense about C-19 and fighting for freedom. As I said in my Happy New Year message last week, there is a theme to what I do, and it is about freedom. And comedy is about freedom. Passion is about freedom. Health is about freedom. The law is about preserving freedom. Hemp is about freedom. So that's a bit of stuff about me. I have 5 children. I've been successfully married 3 times. Julie, our wonderful producer, director, is my wife, my 3rd and final wife. I am happy in my life. I love doing what I do. And the ideas that I share in this show, I know can work to enable you to enjoy what's happening to you each day, to be happy on a moment-by-moment basis, regardless of the crap that you need to deal with. Thanks for being with us. Look forward to being with you next week. If you have any questions, please send them via email. If you want to be added to our mailing lists, please let us know, charles@covest.com. Thank you. Bye.